Well, we have a pretty funny ball game to go over. A lot of good to take out of it, plenty of bad to take out of it. Very funny ending. Objectively, kind of, I giggled. Then we have September call ups to discuss as well. We'll talk about that all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Friday, September 1st, 2023. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. So, peek behind the curtain. This is the second time I'm recording this episode. My Thursday was like Tigers played at 1. Then I had to do a Tigers show and I do Locked On Red Wings as well there after that. And then high school football season is back. And if you aren't aware, I cover sports for the Detroit News as well. And so I was on the clock from 6:30 until like 11:30 with the news. And the Tigers decided to announce their September call-ups right in the middle of my shift there. So I haven't had time to re-record. It's now almost midnight. But I didn't want to have like the discussion I had around, who's September call-ups going to be? Just be like an old conversation by the time that you were listening to this. So sorry for the midnight crew that watches right at midnight. It'll be probably half hour, 45 minutes after midnight that this comes out, but it'll be truly up to the date information. And that's kind of what I strive for here. So if I repeat a point more than once, it's because I can't remember if I've repeated it or not. So just put up with me there, but a lot to discuss in this episode. We have Matt Manning, really solid start, has been really good lately. We have a hilarious ending to a baseball game. We have kind of a ridiculous baseball game in general to go over in the Tigers' victory, 4-3 victory over the New York Yankees on Thursday afternoon. And then we have September call-ups. Andre Lipcius and Miguel Diaz are Detroit Tigers as of the time that you're listening to this. And some corresponding moves. We got some roster manipulation we got to talk about. We have other kind of like pending questions about September call-ups. There's a lot to discuss there, aside from just player breakdowns on who is getting promoted in those two players. So a lot to discuss. Let's start with Matt Manning, who was phenomenal in this ball game. His ERA on the season, very quietly, is now down to 3.62. 3.62 ERA on the year. Now, he missed some time with injury and whatnot. That's not, 30 starts or anything, but that's really solid. And it's plummeted in his last 4 starts. In this outing, he goes 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He has only given up 1 earned run in his last 4 outings combined. 1 total earned run in his last 4 starts. Now, they've played some pretty atrocious defense, honestly, in at least 2, maybe all 3 of the previous 3 starts. So there's several unearned runs thrown in there, but he has only given up 1, or he has 3 0 earned run outings out of his last 4 starts. Phenomenal stuff. It's just, he's so confusing. That is the word. Like, I try to figure out how to articulate Matt Manning, and he's just confusing as all heck, man. Like, this is a guy who I want to say a month and change ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I came on here and I was like, I think he's completely turned a corner. I think that he has really taken that next step. I see it. I really like what I'm seeing out of him. I think the sequencing is good, et cetera, et cetera. And then his next month, he proceeded to just put out 3 or 4 of the worst outings he's had as a major leaguer, like consecutively, as far as like a stretch goes. One of them, he gave up 6, right? Like, just really was then immediately after me saying that, because that's how it goes. He really fell off a cliff. And now we're back to the point where his last 4 outings, he's been really good again. And he's been throwing the fastball more, which we have documented in extreme lengths on this show. So I'm glad that he's throwing the fastball more. But this outing was even weirder. This was not even just your normal, oh, he just throws the fastball a lot. He doesn't get swings and misses. We're confused on how he's here, but like it's effective. This one was even more noteworthy. He threw 0 changeups. Matt Manning did not throw a single changeup in this ball game, which is already fascinating. I mean, dating back to when he was, I don't know, high single A, double A, we were having conversations about, is the changeup going to be an effective pitch? What's going to be his third pitch? Is it going to be the changeup? Is it going to be at one, he had a weird thing in his development where his slider and his curveball kind of turned into the same pitch at one point, and then he had to re-separate them. But it's always been kind of a storyline of how effective, or is the changeup ever going to be an effective major league pitch? And he just completely ditched it in this outing, and he only gave up 2 hits in 6. So an effective one, only threw 8 curveballs as well. This was, 90% of his 81 pitches thrown were either sliders or fastballs. The fastball we've documented a lot. It's very inconsistent when it comes to velocity. It's very inconsistent when it comes to command. But in his last few outings, I thought the command's been pretty good. In this outing, he kept trying to hit the glove side low corner. So to right, he's low and away. To left, he's low and in. That was the only spot that he really had trouble consistently hitting. The rest of the strike zone, he was putting it wherever he wanted, effectively as well. But as far as the slider goes, he threw more sliders in this outing than he did 4-seam fastballs. 47% sliders, 43% 4-seamers. That's a 3-pitch difference out of his 81 pitches. And, it was effective. Like, it got hit hard, I think, twice, I want to say. But it was an effective pitch. And overall, his entire outing, he had a 33% CSW percentage. And every pitch was around that number. Pretty consistent across the board. 32% on the slider, 34% on the 4-seamer. So, I mean, you're talking about an outing where it was, how do I even articulate it? If you're a longtime listener of the show, you remember the Michael Fulmer era, which means you remember the infamous slider cutter thingy, because it wasn't a slider, but it also wasn't a cutter. And so that's what we called that pitch from Michael Fulmer. And this kind of resembled that, not nearly as fast velocity-wise. His slider in this outing peaked at 86 miles an hour and sat at about 83. That's much closer to like a traditional slider speed-wise. But he was not afraid to throw it inside to righties. He was not afraid to throw it on the arm side half of the plate. And like traditional sliders, that's usually a no-no. That's like hanging slider territory. That's super risky. But he was even throwing it up and into righties. He had multiple instances, and he had a swing and miss on at least one, and then early foul balls on a couple more. Like, I don't think you can live up there with an 83 mile an hour slider cutter thingy, but like it worked in this outing. And the Yankees aren't shouldn't be the barometer for like what works against a good offense and what doesn't. But I mean, heck, man, he was putting it all over the zone, which I think affected timing. And then he was setting it up with a 4-seam fastball that he could put nearly anywhere. He's so weird. Matt Manning continues to be so unbelievably confusing. There's a lack of consistency there. There's a lack of like super fantastic peripherals. There's a lack of swing and misses, but he has a 3.62 ERA on the season, and his ERA in his major league career is sub-4. I'll catch you in his next start, and we'll talk about how confusing he still is. But when it comes to run prevention, his season and career numbers aren't bad. Continues to just be an absolute anomaly. Let's keep talking about the pitching. We're going to talk about the bullpen here in a second, and then we will talk about the offense as well. We'll do that right after I tell y'all about our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, and this is crazy to me, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So now is clearly the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy, and you can bet on everything from spreads, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers who do tune in every day. We'll be back Monday recapping a weekend series against the, oh my goodness, turmoil is an understatement that is for what's happening over on the south side of Chicago. We'll see what the Tigers can do on the road. They play much better on the road, so I'm expecting a little bit better brand of baseball than what we got this series. Tigers dropped 3-4 to the Yankees. They do steal the series finale in a very wild way, I guess, is one way to put it. There's a lot of adjectives I could use to describe it. Ugly is probably one as well, but a win is a win is a win is a win. As far as the rest of the bullpen goes, Jason Foley, I thought his stuff was the best. The sinker especially was the best I'd seen it in a while. So good to see from him. Tyler Holton, 1 inning, perfect ball, 2 strikeouts. The one thing about Tyler Holton, I feel like I have done a disservice to Tyler Holton with like not talking about his stuff, right? I've talked about Tyler Holton and how incredible his season has been, and everybody in the fan base has at this point. But I feel like it's just kind of like, oh, he's really good, and like we don't know how, and then we move on. His changeup is a legitimate pitch. That thing was working today. He got a couple of swings and misses on it. One of them was for strike 3. But I mean, genuinely, his stuff is really good. It's just he doesn't have he's never going to be sort of the top end of baseball in K rate. He's never going to be the lowest walk rate in baseball. He's never going to have the lowest batting average against in baseball. Like all of his peripherals they're solid. They're not awful. They're not even middle of the road. They're above average. They're good, but they're not like sub 2 ERA in 60 appearances good. And that's what he has been. And so even the FIP and whatnot is in the mid 3s. Like he just continues to fascinate everyone with how good of a season he's putting up. And the reason why is because he's a good pitcher. And I'm not trying to say that in layman's terms. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but he's not a thrower. He's not a reliever that comes in and can throw 105 miles an hour and get you out. But his sequencing is perfect. I hope that one day I do a live stream or something during a game and Holton pitches, because I would love to just have all of everybody hear what I'm saying out loud while he is on the mound. His sequencing is beautiful. People talk about the art of pitching, RIP Jim Price. He really, really executes everything to a T, and I think his sequencing is beautiful. And you can not have the best stuff on the entire planet. You cannot throw the hardest on the planet, and you can still be a really, really effective pitcher. And I know we've given him a lot of flowers this year, but it has continued to progress, and it continues to be something that I think he deserves them all the time. So not going to stop anytime soon. We'll save Alex Lang for a second. Bo Brisky, 1 inning, 1 strikeout, a perfect ball. Did not even allow the Manfred runner, which was very impressive. That changeup is a plus pitch. It's a plus pitch. It will continue to be. Can he get an effective slider? He tried to get Judge on a strike 3 slider low and away, and Judge spit on it, right? And so that's his next step in development. That changeup is good. The fastball is since moving to the bullpen, completely different pitch, and is effective now. Got Judge on the ground out on a fastball out of the zone, but needs something that moves horizontally. But this was a great outing, 3.52 ERA on the year. Okay, great. Now let's talk about Alex Lange. I have a thought, and I don't want like pitchforks to come out, and I'm not saying that this is like bona fide guaranteed the right way to handle this, but I do have a thought. Why not? That's not how I want to start this. I have a thought. I have to say it for a fifth time. I think it wouldn't be the stupidest thing in the world to just let Alex Lange continue to be the closer the rest of the year. Now, everybody calm down, okay? Everybody calm down, take a breather. I'm not saying that if he was removed from the closer role that I would be like upset or think it was stupid. I would completely understand that the dude is now on like 2 months of struggling. He was better the last like 2 weeks than he was before that, but this outing certainly didn't help him. No walks in this outing, which I think is worth pointing out, but obviously give up the 3-run homer and send us into extras. But September is all about player development for this team. They're not making a run. Okay. Wins and losses in September will not matter to this baseball team. So you have to put the player development as the top priority. There is an argument. I'm not sure it's a winning one. I'm not even sure which side of the fence I stand on this. But there is an argument that if you really prioritize player development, if you're confident Jason Foley's not your closer of the future, you're confident that Tyler Holton's not your closer of the future, and you're confident that Miguel Diaz, who I guess is your pitcher September call-up, is not your closer of the future, then why would you not just let Alex Lange continue to close games? And if it goes terribly, then guess what? He's not your closer of the future either. But if there's even a slight chance, even a slim, even if it's like 2% chance that Alex Lange is still your closer of the future, then maybe, or at least if it's a higher percent chance than everyone else in your bullpen currently, then you probably leave him in there. Now, some of you are listening to this and you're going, well, idiot, I don't think he's the closer of the future, and I do think it's a higher percent chance that it's Holton or Foley or whatever. Then fine. Then you stand on that side of the aisle. I'm just saying that it's not the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. And if they continue to do it, I would not like actively complain about it. And I've seen this front office do stupider. It's a low bar, but like I don't think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. Obviously, it was not good in this outing. Again, no walks, which is a plus, but that's pretty much where the pluses end. 3.93 ERA on the season, still despite all the troubles. Not that that's like super low, but sub 4 still on the year. Let's talk about the offense. This offense went 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position in this baseball game. 2 for 12. In a miraculous stat came to light. The first person I saw talk about it was Robert James on X is now what the app's called, I believe. But a few different people tweeted it out after the ball game. Spencer Torkelson, August is over, right? It's September 1st. Spencer Torkelson officially went the entire month of August without recording a single hit with a runner in scoring position. Not one. Let's keep talking about this. We'll talk about the game, obviously, and the standouts, but the RISP numbers for this team continue to absolutely stun me. Okay. We'll do that right after I tell y'all about our friends over at Margs. This episode is brought to you by Margs Sparkling Margaritas. Look, I've been trying to find a replacement to the typical White Claws and High Noons of the world. Thank goodness I stumbled upon Margs. They're refreshing, ready to drink sparkling margaritas, and they have officially become my go-to cocktail. They're crafted with real Blanco tequila. They're clean, crisp, and they genuinely taste so good. They've got 5 unique flavors. So there's something for everyone to enjoy. Drink these kicking back after work, watching a game on the weekends, hanging out with friends. All summer I've been drinking these, and I think they're going to be the perfect tailgate season drink this fall as well. So visit sipmargs.com, That's SIPMARGS.com to find a retailer near you. Must be 21 and over to enjoy. Cheers, and please drink responsibly. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked on Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, making us your first listen every day. Be sure to check out the Tigers home radio broadcast on the Sirius XM app. Just search Detroit Tigers. The next thing you know, anytime, anywhere, as long as they're playing a ball game, you will be listening to the Tigers home radio broadcast in the beautiful voice of Dan Dickerson. So Spencer Torkelson goes, I think it was 0 for 20, 0 for 24. He had a few walks in there. So like he had a few, 3 or 4 more plate appearances than at bats, but he did not record a single hit the entire month of August with a runner in scoring position. That is remarkable. I couldn't tell you the last time an everyday heart of the order. He bats 3rd and 4 most nights. And like, look, he had a home run yesterday. He went 0 for with a walk today. He's obviously been struggling, and we've seen the peaks. We've seen 8 home runs in 11 games. We've also seen the valleys of like the continuous like 1 for 25 stretches that he will go on. And and this is not just a Torkelson like drag session either. Like Riley Green's stats with runners in scoring position in the month of August, he's batting like 175. He was 167 going into the game and got 1 hit. So I'm assuming it's around like 180-ish. That's not good, right? This whole team continues to be in the bottom 4 or 5, as low as 3 at one point in the sport in their RISP stats. Okay, so this is everybody. This is a team thing. And the most frustrating thing, not the most frustrating, goodness, one of the also frustrating things is they don't even have productive outs. Like that's a lost art in baseball. And I hold productive outs very near and dear to my heart. And the fact that this team refuses to do like anything productive when it comes to outs. Man on second, less than 2 outs. Maybe just hit the ball to the right side. I don't care if it's a ground out. You're not getting a hit anyway. None of you have gotten hits. Outside of Kerry Carpenter and Zach Short, like no one on this team consistently hits with runners in scoring position. Zach Short is Mr. Clutch. He's got an OPS on the season of 664, and his OPS with RISP is like 1,000. Okay. And then you have Kerry Carpenter, who his season, and he goes 2 for 5 in this game, 875 OPS on the year for Kerry Carpenter. His stats with RISP on the year, he's been like 330 with an OPS over 1,000. He had another hit with RISP in this game, and his RISP stats in August are like 335 with an OPS over 1,000. He's remarkable, okay? Besides him, everyone needs to learn how to like have a team at bat with a man on base. I mean, my goodness. And so the Torkelson, like the 0 for a month is wild, okay? And that's obviously like the point that I highlighted at the beginning. But this truly is top to bottom, this entire team. And you're not going anywhere. Look, like seriously, you're not going anywhere as a franchise if you're really your whole team, but like especially your heart of the lineup guys just like refuse to be productive. That's not going to happen. Riley Green did have a hit with a runner in scoring position, like I said, in this ball game. As a whole, I mean, like I said, Torkelson 0 for 4 with 2 Ks and a walk. Riley Green 2 for 5. Good to see. One was a ground ball to second base that got through the infield. And then the one was a pull side in the air. The one was with the man on second. Pull side in the air. Single to right field. Will gladly take that. McKinstry 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Andy Bonzi has a couple of knocks. Good for him. OPS back over 700. Parker Meadows 1 for 4 with a walk. I thought the walk was intentional. I thought that he had 1 at bat in this game. I don't remember off the top of my head whether it was the hit or whether it was a strikeout anyway. But he had an at bat where he was down 1-2 and then worked the count full. And I thought the pitch that he took to work the count full was a brilliant take. And again, I don't remember the result of the at bat, so that kind of might go against my point in the long run. But it was a fastball up and away just a hair out of the strike zone on a 2-2 count. And to be a week into the majors and take that, I thought was very, very nice to see. And the strikeout numbers are probably always going to be decently high, and they're pretty high right now. But the walk numbers are really good right now, and he has an OPS of 900 with a batting average of almost 300. It's a week. That's not going to maintain. But I'm not going to complain too much about the K rate yet because it's not at the expense of good production from him. And obviously, we talk all the time about how his great production in on the base paths and in center field, had a stolen base in this game. Didn't score because we're the Tigers, though. Oh, and then great slide, I guess, to quote unquote win the game as well. That's really all I got to say about this ball game. It was ugly. The walk-off was hilarious. Like, it's so funny how, like, we the team has to tweet, like, walk-off winner, but, like, the video is a ground ball to second base. Glaber had a rough day defensively. I think that makes up for him turning into prime Babe Ruth the last 3 days in the batter's box. We'll take it. We'll take it. I'm not gonna be all doom and gloom recapping a win as ugly as it might have been. And Matt Manning gave us a really solid start, so good for him. Let's talk about September call-ups, baby. Like I said on Thursday evening, the Detroit Tigers announced that Andre Lipcius and Miguel Diaz would be the September call-ups for your Detroit Tigers. That's super exciting. Congratulations to Andre Lipcius making his major league debut. Miguel Diaz did pitch I want to say 3 innings for the Tigers last year. So not his first rodeo, but congrats to him for coming back, to making it back to the majors. And then, like I said, huge props to Lipcius for having a dream come true. Major League Baseball player Andre Lipcius. No one can ever take that away from him. I love call-ups. Very, very cool moment. How can you not be romantic about baseball's kind of stuff? So a few things to talk about with this. One, I want to talk about Lipcius and Diaz as players. Okay. We'll end the show on that. Right now, I want to talk about the roster construction. So we always knew it was going to be one arm and one bat, and that's what it is. But it's, first off, Miguel Diaz not on the 40-man roster. So he's getting selected. Someone has to get booted off the 40-man. It's really easy to point to Jose Cisnero because he did not get selected on waivers. He cleared waivers. And it would be pretty easy to just point to him and go, well, we put you on waivers anyway. No one picked you up. We're going to DFA you. That's certainly a possibility. I'm not aware of any unknown injury that would, go, they could just put someone on the 60-day IL, I guess, and open up a spot. But to my knowledge, that's not a thing. So they're going to have to make a room on the 40-man, not the major league roster, because the rosters expand by 2 players. That is what these 2 gentlemen will be filling. The rosters go from 26 to 28. But the 40-man, they won't have to for Lipcius. He's on the 40, has been all year, got put on the 40 last fall. They will have to find someone to put on waivers or DFA, non-recoverable waivers or DFA, to make room for Miguel Diaz. Now, as far as the major league roster goes, Lipcius plays kind of all over the infield, has played first, third, and second. Pretty much anything but a shortstop he's tried at the minor league level. Not that he's a big-time plus defender, but I think that they like the versatility there. Miguel Diaz, we'll talk about his pitch repertoire in a second. The other thing that's important to watch is that Winfield Perez was pulled from the game at the exact same time as Andre Lipcius. Andre Lipcius, the one getting the call-up, obviously. And they're going to go one arm and one bat, which is what they did. There are some rumblings. I don't know anything at almost 12:30 in the morning now that I'm ready for bed, that the general public my computer just froze. Okay, I think I'm back. Maybe it was just the craziest coincidence ever. And Winfield Perez got hurt at the exact same time that Andre Lipcius was pulled from the baseball game. I guess that's a possibility. Some people are saying that is what happened. There's rumors out there that he just had a minor injury, and so they pulled him at the same time. But I do want everyone to keep an eye out. There is a chance that Winfield Perez is also getting a call up. If it's not this weekend, maybe relatively soon. it just seems like an awful coincidence. It seems like a wild coincidence that would happen. So it is worth noting, if Perez was to get called up as well today, right? If they made that announcement right before the game started because he was replacing someone else, that is why. It would be because they would have to send a major league player down if they're calling up Perez, Diaz, and Lipcius. But I don't know anything right now at the time of this recording that the general public doesn't know. So that's all just speculation. And there is a very real chance that it was just a poorly timed injury and they both got pulled out of the game at the same time. Wincio Perez, though, has been significantly better in the season in AAA than Lipcius has. That being said, Lipcius is last year was one of my favorite prospects in the entire organization. Love me some Andre Lipcius. We already talked about the fact that he plays multiple positions. On the season, Lipcius has a 272 average, a 272 average, a 363 OBP, and a 412 slug. That's an OPS in the 770s on the season. So not bad numbers at all. But Wincio Perez has an OPS like over 900 in AAA this year. Smaller sample size. Lipcius has been here for 96 games. Wincio Perez spent a lot of time in AA and has only been in AAA for a little over 30 games. So definitely a smaller sample size. If you do shorten the sample size, in August, Andre Lipcius's numbers are a 343 average, a 438 OBP, and a 612 slug. That is an OPS well over 1,000 in the month of August. He had 5 of his 12 home runs in the month of August and 21 RBIs in August as well. All those stats via Road to Detroit on Twitter, X, whatever, the Tigers player development account. So obviously found a heater in the month of August. Great to see. This is a guy who walks a lot and doesn't strike out a lot. So there's some big questions around him. The biggest is, does he have the power to translate to the major league level? Now, again, I just read you as a slug over 600 in AAA in the month of August, but major league power a lot different than 1 month of minor league power. And even with this crazy August, his slug on the season in AAA is still only 412. That's not super high. So a lot of questions about does he have the power to be a sustained hitter at the major league level? What kind of power is that? Even if it's doubles power, we'll gladly take it. But that is certainly a question. But it's hit for a high average, high 270-ish or better at pretty much every level he's been at, and walks a boatload. And that's why he's been one of my favorite prospects in the Tiger system for the last couple of years. Last season, he in AA, in 88 games in AA, walked more than he struck out over the course of a full season. So this year, 12.5% walk rate in Toledo in, again, almost 100 games, and a 17.5% K rate. That's a really low K rate. He's got great bat to ball skills. 12.5 walk rate is very high. It's not the 16 that he put up in AA, but you're expected to go down a little bit. So I'm expecting walks. I'm expecting not very many strikeouts. I'm expecting the ball to be put in play a lot, some versatility defensively, even if it's not huge plus defense. But I mean, there's serious concerns about what the peaks that he could reach as a hitter, given the lack of power that he has shown throughout the minors. So there is Andre Lipcius. I'm super pumped. Again, happy for him. Congratulations. And I'm just glad, like, I was his biggest fanboy a year ago, after the season he put up last year. So seeing him get a look in the majors is a really cool thing. Miguel Diaz in the season so far, he's got an ERA over 5 in AAA, which is why some people kind of rolled their eyes at the announcement. I really like Miguel Diaz, so you're not going to find that here. He is 28 years old, turns 29 in November. And he's been around. He played for Milwaukee, San Diego, now Detroit, obviously. He was in the organization last year, and in AAA had a little bit of, hit like a 4.2, 4.3 ERA last year. This year, again, over 5. He's got good strikeout numbers, though. A K per 9 of over 11.5. He walks probably a little more hitters than you'd ideally like. But, and then got, like I said, a cup of coffee last year, like 3 innings. And I think only allowed 1 run in that stint in the major leagues last season. So I'm not expecting him to come up here and like absolutely shove. Baseball, MLB Trade Rumors, another really very, very cool source and website, in their article about Miguel Diaz getting called up, they had cited that his ERA is really high, and like the peripherals are actually really good. He gives up he strikes a lot of people out and gives up a lot of ground balls. Those are two things that are a recipe for success in general. But he has in the minors this year, a very, very high, like stranded runners end up scoring rate. And so that's what they cited as one of the reasons to why his ERA might be a little higher. We'll see. I mean, again, he's got an ERA over 5 in AAA. I'm not expecting the world, but this is a guy that can get swing and misses, and I love his changeup. This is also a guy that gave up 0 runs in spring training. He had a 0 ERA at the end of spring. I wanted him to make the major league roster. If you're a longtime listener and we're listening back in spring training, I wanted this dude to make the team out of camp. Obviously, he did not. He's been in the minors all season. And, take major league or even minor league regular season stats over spring training. I'm not trying to say he's going to come up here and throw zeros. Spring training is spring training, grain of salt. But he has shown the ability to get swing and miss stuff with his changeup against changeup splitter, whatever you want to call it, against major leaguers. So we'll see. I'm pumped for both of them. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely not against either of them. Not my first, not my prediction, certainly, and not the guys that would have been like the first on my list, but I'm very far from upset about it. As long as someone new is getting an opportunity and it's not just Winginter and Maton again, I was going to be like pretty okay with whatever. And I still think that Winfield Perez is going to get a look at some point this year as well. He's on the 40-man and crushing the ball. I'm not sure why he wouldn't. Cool. So don't, I was going to say don't hold your breath about Perez, but that's what you say if you're not expecting it to happen. But I'm also not going to encourage you to hold your breath. So expect Winfield Perez at some point in September as well. I think the ship has sailed on Colt Keith. I don't expect him to play in the majors this year. And Malloy, I still have some glimmer of like hope that he's going to get some ABs at the major league level this year. But I think they're going to see what they have on the 40-man first and foremost. So we'll see. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Be sure to check out the Tigers home radio broadcast on the SiriusXM app. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It is now past 12:30 in the morning, so I am going to go to bed, but I really just wanted to make sure that we had the up-to-date information there. So thanks for putting up with me. Sorry for the delay for the midnight watchers, and we'll be back on Monday recapping a series against the Chicago White Sox really quickly before I send you on your way. We'll do pitching matchups for this weekend. Game 1, Eduardo Rodriguez going for the Tigers today, Friday, and he is going up against, my phone doesn't want to load. Oh, Tuki Toussaint. Okay. Then on Saturday, we have Mike Clevenger against Reese Olson and Michael Kopech against Tarek Skubal on Sunday. If there's ever a team to take advantage of on the road, it would be the 2023 Chicago White Sox. All right, let's look a little bit better. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch you all then, baby. Go Tigers.